What's going on, guys? Today, if you couldn't already tell, we're going to be talking about plants for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, but not just any plants. We're going to be talking about plants your players can pull tree, planter, they can murder them. You can murderous plants that your players can murder. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. Haha, humor. Anyway, we're going to be talking about 5 cool plant monsters that you can use in your games. There are actually a lot of really awesome plant monsters in D&D 5e, and I know most of us may know about things like the Shambling Mound, but I thought I'd just shed some light on some that I think might be underrated or some that are really cool. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and let's get into it. So the first plant we have here is our Corpse Flower at CR 8, coming to us from Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse. Previously, this was also in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. It's a large plant creature, and it typically is evil. And it's got a 12 AC, 127 hit points, a 20-foot speed, and a 20-foot climb speed. Its strength is 14, its dex is 14, its con 16, intelligence 7. So it actually can, while it doesn't have any languages it can speak, it is like a sentient creature. It's got a wisdom of 15 and a charisma of 3. And it's immune to the blinded, deafen, and poison conditions, and it has blind sight of 120 feet and a passive perception of 12. So it's, we already said it's a CR 8 and it's got a +3 proficiency. So basically, corpses. When first encountered, a corpse flower contains the corpse of 1d6 plus 3 humanoids. So that's up to 9 humanoids. A corpse flower can hold the remains of up to, it's right in the, anyway. These remains have total cover against attacks and other effects outside the corpse flower. If the corpse flower dies, the corpses within it can be pulled free. Spider climb, it can climb difficult surfaces, including upside down and on ceilings. Stench of death. Each creature that starts its turn within 10 feet of the corpse flower or one of its zombies must make a DC 14 con save unless the creature is a construct or an undead. On a failed save, the creature is poisoned until the start of its next turn, and on a success, the creature is immune to the stench of death of all corpse flowers for 24 hours. Actions. It has a multi-attack. Oh my god, guys, it makes 3 tentacle attacks, not tentacles. Why aren't they called it's a flower. Wait, it looks like, I guess those are tentacles. I feel like it should be tendrils and not tentacles. When I think of tentacles, I think of wet, to me this looks like tendrils and not tentacles. Anyway, semantics. Anyway, this is what it looks like. Isn't it cool? That's so creepy. And it also has so its tentacle attack is a +5 to hit. It's got a 10-foot reach. And it does 2d6 plus 2 bludgeoning damage plus 10 or 3d6 poison damage. And it also has Harvest the Dead. The corpse flower swallows one unsecured humanoid corpse within 10 feet of it, along with any equipment the corpse is wearing or carrying. That's crazy. It could just eat. Dude, imagine this thing is a grave robber. What if the townsfolk were like, what's going on? Why are all these graves go missing? And the party has to go, find out. And then they realize it's a giant, flower that's eating people. That would be kind of creepy. All right, it also has some bonus actions. So digest. The corpse flower digests one corpse in its body and instantly regains 2d10 hit points. Nothing of the digested corpse remains. Any equipment on the corpse is expelled from the corpse flower in its space. Reanimate. The corpse flower reanimates one corpse in its body, turning it into a zombie. The zombie appears in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the corpse flower and acts immediately after it in the initiative order. The zombie acts as an ally of the corpse flower but isn't under its control. The flower's stench clings to it. Yee. So this is basically a cool description. So it can sprout atop the grave of an evil necromancer or the remains of powerful undead creatures. Unless it is uprooted and burned while it is still a seedling, the corpse flower grows to enormous size over several weeks, then tears itself free of the earth and begins scavenging humanoid corpses. That's so cool. It actually says from battlefields and graveyards. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. Using its fibrous tendrils, it stuffs the remains into its body to sustain and repair itself, and the plant has a malevolent bent and despises the living. Ooh, ah. I don't know. I think this guy's cool. So, our next creature we have here is called... There's actually two creatures. So we have the Needle Spawn, which is the baby version, the baby version, and the Needle Lord. So, Needle Spawn, this comes from Mordenkainen's Fiendish Folio, volume, I believe it's volume 1. Geez, a lot of Mordenkainen, man, he likes his monsters, doesn't he? So, the Needle Spawn is basically a lesser version of the Lord. So we're gonna go over the Lord for the most part, but if you want servants for your Lord or like an easier challenge for your players, I would highly recommend this guy. But this guy is just a little bit cooler. So our Needle Lord is going to be a CR3, an AC of 15, 45 hit points, a 40-foot speed, and 18 strength, 11 dex, 14 con, 11 int, 15 whiz, and 12 charis. It's also got a +6 to athletics, a +4 to perception, and a +2 to stealth. And it's immune to the blinded, deafened, and exhausted conditions. So it also has blind sight for 30 feet and a passive perception of 14 feet, and it can speak Sylvan. So this guy is intelligent. He can communicate with your players if they speak Sylvan or have a way for, like a language spell or some BS. So yeah, he can be reasoned with, which is cool. You can reason with a giant plant monster. Isn't that fun? I think that's fun. So he has Needle Defense. Each time a creature makes a melee attack against a Needle Lord, it takes 2 piercing damage, and a creature can choose to make an attack with disadvantage to avoid this damage. And I think that's kind of a cool thing. Like, he isn't the highest CR, so 2 piercing damage to your players could actually be a kind of a good chunk, especially if they're, this isn't their first fight of the day. So I think that's a really cool mechanic. I don't know how you would illustrate this to them. Maybe you could be like, this guy's really hard to hit, and there's a lot of spikes, so you might take damage when you try to hit him, unless you have a way to lessen your attacks. I don't know, something like that. But multi-attack, the Needle Lord makes 2 Raking Vine attacks, and the Raking Vine attack is a melee weapon attack with a +6 to hit, a reach of 10 feet, and 2d6 +4 piercing damage, and the target is grappled, escape DC 14 until the grapple ends. The target takes 11 piercing damage at the start of each of its turns, and the Needle Lord has 2 Raking Vines, each of which can grapple only 1 target. That's still 2, that might be like half your party. That's kind of crazy. And so it also has a Needle Volley. So the Needle Lord makes up to 1d6 needle attacks, but it cannot attack the same target more than twice during its turn. That makes sense. And then Needle is a ranged weapon attack, which is +2 to hit, range of 60 feet, and it can hit 1 target for 1d4 piercing damage. So the description for this guy: a wise ranger knows the sight of a needle spawn is an ill omen, for it heralds the rise of a dreaded Needle Lord and a war for the soul of the forest. Isn't that such cool lore? That is so cool. Like, I don't know, man. I think that's so cool. Like, this guy's so flavorful if you're doing like a wild themed campaign, or I don't know. It's just cool. So, roving corpses. Needle spawn are created by Needle Lords, hulking plant creatures that hail from Fey domains, racked by wanton violence. When a Needle Lord enters a worldly forest, it spreads seeded pods wherever it roams. A pod remains dormant until a humanoid dies near it, or a humanoid corpse is dragged close by. Whenever the pod burrows into the corpse's decaying flesh, ooh, sexy, hot, love that. And sprouts ropey vines covered in long, sharp needles. The vines wrap around the corpse and animate it, causing it to rise and lurch about like a zombie. Invasive species. So basically, they're invasive, kind of crazy, kind of correct, and also unnatural ally. A Needle Lord is an blah, 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 blah. The Needle Lord is an implacable foe. Driven by only a desire to conquer and rule, it wages endless war with its army of mobile dead against all creatures it views as a threat to its domain. It might even forge treaties with hobgoblins, kobolds, and other creatures willing to obey it, but it sees any alliance that it casts as a lesser party as only a temporary measure. The Needle Lord betrays any allies at first opportunity, as it believes the only creature that can claim domain over a forest. This guy's really cool. I think he's very flavorful. This is the picture. Isn't it? Dude, I love this like old school style art. I don't know. It's just one of my personal favorites. I love the art so much. It's one of the reasons I chose him. But like, look at this dude. Like, this guy as a warlord for your campaign, so cool. And you could probably give him a couple more abilities, a couple more hit points, buff him up a little bit. And like if you want him to be even stronger, he's Neato Spaghetto. Next monster we have is the Gadabout. So this is going to be our first unaligned plant creature. So it is it only has a 1/8 challenge rating. It's armor class of 11. Oh, it also comes from Monsters Compendium Volume 1 for Spelljammer, I believe. And it's got a 10-foot it's a 10-foot speed and a 60-foot fly speed hovering. So, 12 strength, 10 dex, 14 con, 1 intelligence, 6 wisdom, and a 1 charisma. It is vulnerable to fire damage, and it is immune to blinded, charmed, deafened, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, and petrified. And it has blind sight of 10 feet and passive perception of 8. It cannot speak any languages, and its proficiency bonus is +2. So it has an air envelope. If it has at least 1 hit point, the Gadabout can generate an air envelope around itself in a vacuum. This air envelope can sustain a Gadabout and 1 other creature in its space indefinitely. The Gadabout doesn't require food or sleep, which is cool. It makes 2 branch attacks, so it's a +3 to hit, a reach of 5 feet, 1 target, which takes 3 slashing damage or 1d4 plus 1 damage, and it has a wrap. The Gadabout enters the space of a willing, medium, or small creature within 5 feet of itself and gently gently wraps its branches around the target. The target is grappled. Any attempt by the target to escape the grapple causes the Gadabout to use its reaction to move to the nearest unoccupied space. While grappled by the Gadabout, the target determines where the Gadabout moves and the Gadabout's turns and accompanies the Gadabout wherever it goes. Very cool. So Gadabout are gentle winged creatures that can be used as personal conveyances for short distance travel across airless voids of wild space. A Gadabout wraps its branches around a humanoid creature, spreads its butterfly wings, and allows its wearer to fly through space in a continuously refreshing air envelope. The Gadabout's leaves even provide a nourishing syrup that the wearer can consume in the absence of other food or water. I'm sorry, I gotta stop saying that. One humanoid can survive at least on these leaves for up to 60 days. Gadabouts require sunlight and water to survive. A healthy specimen can live for 25 years. Although its preferred mode of travel is flight, a Gadabout can slowly creep along the ground as well. Elves are the only humanoids to date who know how to grow Gadabouts. Since Gadabouts don't generate seeds, each one is a valuable commodity. Mercane and Dowar merchants who come into possession of a healthy Gadabout might sell it for 2,500 gold pieces or more. So this is a picture, if it loads. Yeah, so this, like, you can see, like, the leaves here, like, how it kind of, like, wraps around and even kind of, like, attaches to the wing. Is this a fairy, or is it growing wings? I don't know. Either way, the plant shit is definitely part of the Gadabout. I couldn't tell you if the wings are part of the Gadabout. Maybe it is, actually. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, it's cool. I like it. It's really cool. It's useful for space. It could also be just a fun way to give your players a fly speed if they don't naturally have a flying speed. So yeah, very cool. Very fun. All right. So next we actually have another CR3 creature. This one comes from Strixhaven, and it's a large-sized creature, which is also unaligned. So it's an AC of 12, 68 hit points, a 30-foot speed, and a 30-foot swim speed. It's got a strength of 20, a 10 dex, a 17 con, a 4 intelligence, a 14 wisdom, and a 4 charisma. It also has a perception of +4 and resistance to fire damage, which is kind of funny since it's a plant. It has blind sight of 10 feet and a passive perception of 14. Its proficiency bonus is +2. So it has Fungal Fortitude. If damage reduces the trudge to 0 hit points, it must make a con save with a DC of +5 the damage taken, unless the damage is radiant from a critical hit. On a success, the trudge drops to 1 hit point instead. Tusk, which is basically its melee weapon attack, which is a +7 to hit, a 10-foot reach, 1 target hit, 16 piercing damage, +3. It's 3 damage or 1d6 poison damage. If the target is a creature, it must make a 15 strength save or be knocked prone. So, brackish trudges are lumbering masses of sentient fungus and vegetation that thrive in the bayou. They are living examples of conflicting forces of life and decay existing in a harmonious cycle. Flowers and other plant life grow on their backs, necks, and heads. When these plants die, they decay and become the ideal habitat for fungi. The older a trudge is, the wilder and more varied the plants and fungi that thrive in the tiny ecosystem on its back. While sometimes ill-tempered and territorial, brackish trudges are usually content to mind their own business. When trudges are roused to defend themselves or drive off rivals, their punishing tusks laced with deadly fungal spores can make short work of the unwary. Trudges are also notoriously difficult to slay. The energies of life and death within them allow them to survive harrowing injuries. This is what it looks like. It's really cool. It's like a fungal elephant kind of thing. It's like a fungal elephant and like, what are those ones? Is it like a rhinoceros? I don't know. The ones with the tusks. It's like they had a baby with some fungus. And I think that's cool. And he's really cute. And I want to make him my friend. Our last creature is it's the second highest CR creature we have for the day, coming in at CR7. It's coming from, also Spelljammer from Monsters Compendium Volume 1. It is a plant creature. It is gargantuan, though, also unaligned. So, it's got an AC of 15, a hit points of 112, a speed of 30 feet, and a fly speed of 60 feet. A 20 strength, a 10 dex, a 15 con, a 3 intelligence, a 10 wisdom, and a 3 charisma. It is vulnerable to fire damage and resistant to bludgeoning and piercing damage. It also is immune to lightning damage and immune to the blinded, deafened, and exhausted conditions. It has blindside of 120 feet, passive perception of 10, and a proficiency bonus of +3. Cavities. Gosh, I don't even know how you say this name. The Yggdrasti, that's what I'm going to say. The Yggdrasti. The Yggdrasti does 1d4 plus 2 The Yggdrasti has 1d4 plus 2 cavities in its trunk. Each cavity is big enough to hold 1 medium creature, 2 small creatures, or 8 tiny creatures. A creature inside the cavity has 3/4 cover against attacks and other effects that originate outside the cavity. The Yggdrasti cavities aren't connected to one another. False appearance. If the Yggdrasti is motionless and rooted in the ground at the start of combat, it looks just like a dead tree and has advantage on initiative rolls. Moreover, if a creature hasn't observed the rooted Yggdrasti move or act, the creature must succeed a DC 18 investigation check to discern the Yggdrasti is animate. Lightning Conduit. If the Yggdrasti is subject to lightning damage, it is unhurt, and the lightning damage instead is divided equally among the creatures it is grappling. In addition, the Yggdrasti regains 1 use of lightning discharge. Unusual nature. The Yggdrasti doesn't require air or sleep. Very cool. It's got a multi-attack, so it makes 2 root attacks and uses lightning discharge if available. So root. Melee weapon attack +8 to hit, reach 20 feet, 1 target, hit 2d6 plus 5 bludgeoning damage, and if the target is a creature, it is grappled with a DC of 15 to escape. The Yggdrasti has 4 roots, each of which can grapple 1 target. That is a lot of roots. So it's also got lightning discharge. The Yggdrasti shoots lightning at 1 creature within 120 feet of itself, and the target must make a DC 13 saving throw, taking a 31 lightning damage on a failed save, or half as much on a success. Description. Thought to be cast off splinters, the Yggdrasti, the wood tree, the tree Yggdrasti. What is this? What are these words? Look like gigantic dead trees covered in barnacles. They fly through wild space and the astral sea with their topmost branches leading the way and their withered roots trailing behind them. Each one has its own gravity plane and air envelope. Creatures sometimes try to hitch a ride to a Yggdrasti by taking advantage of the air envelope. A typical Yggdrasti specimen has cavities inside its trunk which medium or smaller creatures can lurk. Yggdrasti attack any settlements on spelljamming ships they come across without provocation by using speak with plants or similar magic, someone might be able to convince a Yggdrasil to break off his attack, but the monster's innate hatred of other living things is extremely difficult for it to suppress. Yggdrasil sometimes make a landfall and disguise themselves as ordinary trees, burying their roots in the ground, or to pull off deception, they can uproot themselves and use their roots to shamble awkwardly across the ground, but flying is their preferred method of travel. This is really cool. It's basically a flying evil tree. Even though it's unaligned, I think it's pretty evil. But you can use it in Spelljammer, or it literally says you can use it just on like the regular ground, which is very cool. I like it a lot. This is what it looks like. It's cool. It's I don't know. I think he's creepy. I think he's very creepy, and I like that all the eyes are in it. This would be cool, like to try and surprise your players would be very cool. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe, but definitely hit that subscribe button. I hope you have an amazing, wonderful day. It's Phil Smiles, and I will catch you next week. Bye.